Okay, let's unpack this. We are diving into a mystery that I think frustrates and unites pretty much everyone on the planet.
Hmm.
The single missing sock. You put two in the wash and you get one back. It is this household equivalent of a black hole.
It really is. It's a universal problem. We've all been there, you know, holding one perfectly good sock, knowing its partner is somewhere, but it's just gone.
Exactly. And today we are giving you the definitive guide to where it went, and we're using this fascinating collection of sources excerpts from something called The Secret Treaty of Laundry Mountain.
A great source.
Yeah, and this deep dive is for you because it blends this like high fantasy explanation with the cold hard science of what's actually happening inside your appliances.
What's so remarkable about the material is that it gives you both narratives at once. You have the mythology, but you also have really detailed, actionable information about physics and engineering.
So our mission is to explore the adventure, the mechanics, and maybe even the life lessons hidden in a pile of laundry.
Right. It's the perfect mix of creative storytelling and critical thinking. And we're going to break down both sides.
Okay, so let's start with the story, the fun part. It's centered around two kids, a sister and brother, named Ellie and Max.
And every Saturday, it's laundry day, and every Saturday, the same thing happens. They lose a sock.
And it's Max, the big brother, who comes up with this theory. He whispers to Ellie that they're not lost. They're going to Laundry Mountain, where the Sock Goblins live.
Which, at first Ellie doesn't buy it. She's the practical one. She's like, maybe we just missed one in the basket.
And this is the key moment in the source. They see it happen. One last red-striped sock on the floor starts to wiggle.
It actually wiggles, and then it just gets up and walks away.
I love that. So once you see an actual sock walking away, all bets are off. You have to follow it.
You have to. And the path they take is just extraordinary. It's a trail of lint and other missing socks, and it leads them behind the dryer.
Right, past the old broom and all that stuff, and then straight into the spinning tunnel.
A tunnel made of, static, dryer sheets, and just hundreds of other single socks spinning around them. Whoosh.
And they land?
They land on a hill that looks like it's covered in snow, but of course it's laundry fluff. And there's a sign.
Welcome to Laundry Mountain, home of the Sock Goblins.
What's so brilliant here is how the source material builds this entire world out of just, the mundane stuff you find in a laundry room.
And the goblins themselves sound amazing. They're described as these tiny creatures bouncing around, and they're wearing all the stolen goods.
Right, sock hats, sock scarves, little capes made out of old gym socks. It's a whole textile-based society.
Yeah, the description of them giggling and sledding down fabric softener falls just paints such a vivid picture. It's organized chaos.
But the fun kind of stops there, because Max remembers why they came. He demands their socks back.
And that's when the Goblin Queen shows up.
Wearing a polka dot sock for a crown, and she just lays down the law of the land immediately.
She gives them the legal reason for all this theft. Finders keepers, laundry leapers. If it's single, we claim it.
So, the way she sees it, if you, the owner, fail to keep your socks paired, that's abandoned property. It's fair game.
So they're not just up against thieves, they're up against a whole sovereign nation with its own legal code.
Exactly. And so, of course, the kids object, and this leads to a challenge. The queen says they have to prove they are sock-worthy.
And this is where the story gets really creative, the sock challenge.
It's this whole obstacle course that's perfectly on theme.
Okay, so there are three parts. The first one, which I love, is they have to cross these static cling trampolines.
Can you imagine you try to jump, but your clothes just stick to the surface? It's a genius use of, real physics in a fantasy story.
Then there's a mental test. Sock puppet trivia.
You just know they were getting grilled on, the history of the Argyle pattern or something.
And the last obstacle is this giant maze made of spinning clothes hampers.
Which is terrifying, but also, it's the perfect metaphor for the chaos of laundry day itself.
So they get through all of that, but the final test is the big one. It's a logistical nightmare.
It really is. It's the ultimate test of pattern recognition. The queen demands they match her entire personal collection.
All 237 of her lost socks.
Without a single mistake.
That's insane. The level of detail you'd need for that, the exact shade of navy blue, the little loose thread. Honestly, 237 single socks says more about the queen's organizational skills than theirs.
That's a fair point. But they do it. They pass the test. They prove they're worthy. But just as the goblins are about to hand everything back, Ellie has a better idea.
Yeah, she's the real hero here. She doesn't just want her socks back, she proposes a partnership.
She's the savvy negotiator.
Totally. She basically says, look, keep the socks you've already got. We'll even start sending you more single socks, but on purpose.
It's a supply chain solution. She turns an unpredictable loss into a predictable system. And in exchange, under this new secret treaty, the goblins agree to send them a treasure every month.
And the treasures are amazing. Fuzzy slippers, glow-in-the-dark toe socks, even secret sock maps.
And they get home, and the proof arrives almost immediately. A glittery sock crown with a note, "Laundry legends forever.
Yeah.
The deal is real."
It's just such a great, satisfying story for a problem everyone has.
It is. But now that we've covered the myth, let's pivot. Let's talk about the cold, hard data. Because, as fun as Laundry Mountain is, the real reasons are all about physics and engineering.
Right. So this is where we move from magic to mechanics. If you want to stop losing socks, to stop feeding the Goblin Queen, what does the science actually say? What are the big three reasons?
Okay, so we have to understand it's really about appliance design and material science. The first one is static cling, which we all know about, but it's a little more complex than you'd think.
It's not just friction.
Not just friction. Socks are often these cotton poly blends, right? And in a hot, drier drum, those synthetic materials build up a charge really easily.
And modern machines make this worse, don't they?
They absolutely can. High-efficiency machines use less water. Less water means there's more friction, more tumbling, and less moisture to dissipate that static charge.
So it's a perfect storm.
It's a perfect storm for the triboelectric effect. That lightweight little sock clings for dear life to the inside of a bigger item, like a duvet cover or a sweatshirt. It's not lost, it's just hiding, perfectly concealed.
Okay, so that's number one. What about the second cause? The research calls it machine migration. That sounds a little more ominous.
It is. Migration is when the machine itself literally eats the sock.
Oh, wow.
Washers and dryers, they vibrate like crazy, and they are not perfectly sealed boxes. There are tiny gaps. The most common weak spot is the space between the spinning drum and the outer tub.
So the spin cycle just forces the sock into that gap.
Precisely. It can slip past the rubber door gasket, or in a dryer, it might get past the felt seals. And once it's through that little gap, it just drops into the body of the machine.
So it's just sitting there.
It's sitting there, under the drum or in the insulation, collecting lint. It is physically lost inside the appliance's own graveyard. That's why repair technicians find them all the time.
That makes so much sense. Okay, so what about the third one? This one sounds the most destructive. The drain vortex?
The drain vortex is a washer-specific problem. When the water pumps out, it goes through a filter or trap first to catch lint and coins and things.
And a sock is the perfect size to get pulled in there.
Especially a thin sock, or like a baby sock. It gets sucked toward the pump intake and can either clog that filter, which is bad, or worse, it can get wrapped around the pump's impeller blades.
So it doesn't just disappear, it can actually break the machine.
It can cause genuine damage that leads to a repair bill. And that's a key takeaway for you, the listener. We're talking about real appliance harm here.
So on one hand, we have goblins offering us sock maps. On the other, we have the very real threat of pump impeller damage. What is the practical solution? What does the research say is the fix?
The solution is almost disappointingly simple. It's all about being careful at the beginning, at the input stage.
So better organization.
Exactly. The number one thing the material recommends is using mesh laundry bags.
Because if the problem is migration and static and the drain, a mesh bag basically stops all three of those things from happening.
It completely eliminates the opportunity. You've got it. You put the socks in the zippered bag and you physically contain them. They can't slip through a gap, they can't cling to a giant sheet, and they certainly can't get sucked into the drain pump.
It's a cheap, easy fix.
It's a low-cost, high-return solution that, replaces the need for a treaty with a Goblin Queen.
So if the fix is that simple, just use a bag, why do we all still lose socks? Does the research get into that?
It does. It basically comes down to human nature. We value speed over diligence. It's just faster to throw everything into the machine than it is to stop and sort and bag things up.
So the Goblin story exists because it's a better narrative for our own laziness?
I mean, that's a blunt way to put it, but
Yeah.
it's an explanation for a failure of organization.
Yeah.
It's much more fun to blame a mischievous goblin than to admit I just forgot to use the mesh bag.
That's a fantastic synthesis. The story exists to resolve the emotional frustration of a problem that we create ourselves through a lack of process.
And that's the real heart of these sources. It says both truths can exist. You should apply the scientific understanding, Use the bag, but also embrace the creative narrative because it makes life's little frustrations more fun.
So the ultimate lesson here is that a small mystery, like a lost sock, can actually lead to creativity and fun, like it did for Max and Ellie.
It encourages us to look at all those little daily hiccups, lost keys, a messy desk, not just as failures, but as, I guess, invitations to be creative.
Absolutely. And in that spirit, we want to leave you with the same challenge the source material suggests. We want you to design your own WN sock goblin.
Yeah. What's their name? What do they wear? Do they live in the dryer vent or under the laundry basket? Are they stealing for fashion or for function?
We've gone all the way to Laundry Mountain, we've survived the 237 sock matching test, and we've broken down the physics of your washing machine.
Which leaves an important question for you to think about. This whole deep dive shows that every small frustration can be seen through a lens of physics or a lens of creativity. So where else in your life are you choosing to blame the Goblin Queen instead of, just using the mesh bag?
And remember that final line from the research we looked at today. If a sock goes missing, it might just be starting an adventure. Until our next deep dive,